Mario games are usually known for their very upbeat nature, filled to the brim with levels containing bright colors, happy sounding music, and Mario just having the time of his life anytime he does some form of jumping. It's not always sunshines and rainbows though. Some of these games have some truly scary moments in them, ones that are ingrained into my memory for life, for the better or for the worse. Whether it be jump scares or just stomach-churning moments you have to sit through in order to progress in the game, I'm going to be counting down the top 10 scariest Mario moments. I want to preface that because the concept of finding something quote-unquote scary can be subjective to some degree, I can't really call this a definitive list the same way a top 10 strongest characters video could be considered definitive. So it's very possible some of the things on this list you won't find scary personally. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive in. Number 10, the dreaded Bowser spot. Specifically the Bowser spot from Mario Party 4. Landing on this spot used to freak me out as a kid. I don't know what it was. It just, although it wouldn't happen too often, but when it did, I couldn't handle it. I think what really did it was just the sheer suspense between if it was going to be Bowser who shows up or the Koopa Kid. The screen going dark, the music becoming more sinister, the faint laughing of Bowser's deep voice, and you just having to sit through all of it. Just wondering if it was going to be the giant form of Bowser flattening you like a pancake, forcing you to compete against others in a minigame that would leave the loser burnt to a crisp, or if it was just going to be a regular Koopa Kid that would steal your coins with much less threatening music to back him if he shows up. During my first playthrough of this game as a kid, me and sometimes my friends or brother would literally hide behind the couch with our ears covered so we wouldn't even have to hear if it was Bowser that showed up until he had already been waiting for one of us to come out and press A. Good times, good times. Number 9, Yoob devouring Yoshis on Yoshi's Island. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time is already the most unsettling game in the Mario and Luigi series to begin with, in my opinion, due to the general tone of a lot of its areas as well as what the Mario Bros are up against. A bunch of alien invaders that are going around destroying various areas in the Mushroom Kingdom. But what stuck out to me more than anything growing up was when the foursome traveled back in time to Yoshi's Island, where the Yoshis had to deal with Yoob, a giant Yoshi-like creature created by the Shroom clan. This monster loved to eat everything smaller than it, especially other Yoshis. His two main cutscenes really freaked me out when I was younger. Seeing the Mario Bros hiding inside that Yoshi hut while Yoob's tongue is stretching in and out of the hut trying to get them, combined with the genuine fear on their faces, followed by the gigantified version of Yoob doing the same thing later in the story and actually succeeding, it still gives me the heebie-jeebies. Although it did become a lot less unsettling for young me when I found out all the Yoshis that had been eaten were still alive in there and hadn't been digested by stomach acids. Number 8. Hell Valley Skytree. The Shiverburn Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy 2 may seem like a harmless area mixed with ice and lava, but in reality, it holds a sinister secret inside. At the start of the area, if you angle the camera towards the skybox, it's possible to spot 4 different looming figures above you that have very ghostly / alien-like appearances to them. It's impossible to even get close to these figures without using some kind of hacking tools, and no other NPCs acknowledge their presence either. They simply just look down upon you creepily. The name Hell Valley Skytree comes from the game files themselves, with the mountain they stand on named Beyond Hell Valley Sky, and the figures themselves, of course, named Hell Valley Skytree. Personally, I never actually noticed these guys on my first playthrough and actually probably wouldn't know they existed at all if it wasn't for other talented Mario players / content creators revealing their existences on the internet. But these things have become so notorious amongst the Mario fandom whenever creepy stuff in the series is brought up that I would have felt bad for not including them on here at all. And I can't deny the figures themselves do look very unsettling to me even now as a grown-ass man. Number 7, the Shunned Guy battle from Paper Mario Color Splash. One could argue this one is more funny than scary. I'd have to disagree with you a bit though. I'd say it's like a 65-35 split, with the 35 being the funny. This type of Shy Guy is first seen sucking the color out of a toad in the Indigo Underground level, eventually noticing Mario and charging towards him. When the battle actually begins, a very creepy soundtrack starts to play that's unique to this type of Shy Guy. The music for this battle in particular is what made it so scary for me personally. Just listen to this. Plus, it took me a bit of time to figure out how to even damage it because jump attacks and hammer attacks straight up don't work on him, so I just kept hearing the music for longer than I would have liked to. Thankfully, it didn't take me too much longer to realize fire was what needed to kill it. This Shy Guy also seems to be a clear reference to the movie The Exorcist due to not only the way it moves, but the internal file name for it containing the word Exorcist towards the end of the file name. Number 6, Ghost T from Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. During Mario's adventures on the SS Express in Chapter 6, he will eventually take on a side quest quest given to him by the conductor, being asked to retrieve a blanket from a person on the train who apparently doesn't have a ticket. Mario will reach the proper cabin only to find there's no one inside. But if you use Vivian's veil ability to hide inside the room, a ghost Toad will make an appearance. Although fairly cooperative at first, simply wanting Mario to retrieve his diary so it can pass on in the next life, the action of reading his diary is what's haunting. Ghost T will threaten Mario with a cursed fate if he reads the diary. Now, a curious guy like myself, of course, tried to read it, even though the game would straight up warn you several times through text boxes not to do so. If you kept saying you want to read it, Ghost T will eventually appear in front of you and catch you in the act, giving the player a bit of a jump scare and causing an automatic game over. If this didn't get you to think even ghosts in video games don't mess around, then I don't know what will. Number 5, literally anytime Mimi from Super Paper Mario transforms into her spider form. Mimi was always such an interesting character to me because she's definitely the most immature member of Count Bleck's main minion squad, but also had the potential to scare the bejesus out of you more than the rest of them, which to me has always been a pretty cool combination. Although when you first meet her, she comes across as a kind of normal girl who takes a lot of pride in her fashion sense, in reality, she's a shape-shifting monster that can not only transform into identical versions of anyone she chooses, but her true form is even more terrifying. A large, spider-like creature that makes very gross sound effects whenever she moves. Plus, the way she turns into this form is even scarier. Her eyes get wide while her head spins around her body in full 360s before settling upside down. Many theories have been brought up about Mimi's true origins. Some believe she was a failed pixel created by the ancients, a witch's experiment gone horribly wrong with shape-shifting potions involved, or maybe just a robot. The latter being supported by the fact that in her spider form, there's gears that can be seen on the side of her head. But I don't care what she is, just keep her away from me, please. Number 4, Mario gets arrested and put on trial for crimes he did not commit. Super Mario Sunshine is known for its vastly bright-colored beach-themed areas that can easily put a smile on your face, but it's also got one of the darkest starts to a Mario game I think I've ever seen. Shortly after Mario arrives on Isle Delfino for an overdue vacation, he's arrested as the prime suspect for a vast amount of graffiti crimes committed by Bowser Jr. under his alter ego Shadow Mario. We not only see Mario get approached by the cops and booked, but put on trial where he's found guilty by the judge and forced to spend the night in a jail cell. I know a lot of people nowadays like to meme on the thought of Mario getting arrested, which I totally understand. I can see why it's funny, but as a kid and even a bit as an adult, you gotta admit it's pretty dark. The idea of going to jail in general always haunted me as a kid, even when I was still fairly ignorant to how truly bad it can be in there. But in Mario's case, when it's for a crime he knows for a fact he did not commit, it really just rubs salt in the wound even more. At least he was able to get his revenge in the end. Number 3, Bowser gets possessed by Cackletta. One of the few times I've felt bad for Bowser is when I played through Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. This guy could not catch a break in that game. From getting his Koopa Cruiser destroyed, getting shot out of a cannon, having amnesia which resulted in being forced to work under Popple, and to top it all off, getting his body possessed by Cackletta after being defeated again by the Mario Bros. The way Cackletta's soul just eerily moves onto Bowser's face while making a sad expression, and Bowser clearly in pain over this happening too, all for the screen to cut to black with Cackletta's eyes popping up on your screen, taking up the majority of the space, ending the cutscene with a breath of fire from her new body, knowing she's not truly defeated. It's truly chilling stuff. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, once Bowser gets his body back in the end, he gets slammed to the front of your screen and essentially breaks the 4th dimension. Now pour one out for this big guy, please. Number 2 is the Manta Storm, the only boss from Super Mario Sunshine that really freaked me out when I was younger. Eelymouth came close, but not quite. When Mario first arrives in Serena Beach, he's met with an environment covered in electric goop. So much of it, in fact, that the famous hotel has completely sunk into the goop. Talking to the hotel manager out front reveals the true story of what happened. This guy frantically describes how a paper-thin manta-like creature came along and destroyed everything. He's so traumatized by this event, he feels like crying. This is followed by him screaming and warning Mario that it's back for round 2. Seeing just how big this thing is, combined with how it looks like it just goes through everything it comes into contact with, really freaked me out back in the day. I was so afraid of this thing getting too close to me, in fact, that during my first playthrough of the game, all I did was spray water while sitting on the roofs of those little huts on the path to the hotel. Sure, it took me way longer to beat it than it should have, but at least it didn't shock me from up there. The Manta became even creepier to me after learning about how its design is likely a reference to Stephen King's The Shining, where towards the end of the book there was a passage that described a paper-thin manta that looked like it was going to consume the hotel. Who better to take inspiration from than one of the kings of horrors? Finally, the many deaths of Luigi. More specifically, what happened to him in the Simon and Richter Smash trailer, as well as his beta game over screen from Luigi's Mansion 1. I always feel bad when I see my boy going through pain. insane. It's like secondhand fear at this point. The Smash trailer in particular opens with Luigi running through Dracula's castle, being faced with much more realistic looking ghouls and monsters as opposed to the more cartoony ones that appear in the Luigi's Mansion games. After loads of screaming and fear, he eventually runs into the Grim Reaper, where he gets his soul reaped from his body. What? He's just dead? Luigi got his soul snatched from his body in 4K. And his soul is later seen in the trailer floating over his lifeless body, attempting to see if he can get back in there for the body to function, only to be greeted at the window by a vampirous mask from Simon's Quest, laughing at him whilst acidic blood spills from its eye. The scarier of the two, in my opinion, is Luigi's zombified self from the beta Luigi's Mansion trailer. Although it was never explicitly stated, it's believed this is the fate that awaited Luigi if he were to get a game over while exploring the mansion, which what I assume is he becomes part of it, tethered to it just like all the other portrait ghosts are, which is truly an unsettling fate to think about, even if it's not directly happening to you. The reveal itself for this cutscene was done very well too, if their goal was to make it as creepy as can be. The zoom out pan of the mansion with darkness in the front, followed by Luigi's lifeless body only being shown after lightning strikes the surrounding area to shine just enough light to briefly show him. Not gonna lie, part of me is a bit glad this never made it to the final game, because I really don't think my kid self could have handled it. I really don't. My kid self probably wouldn't have been able to handle just reading about it back in the day if the internet was as advanced as it is now in 2001. I respect the concept though, I do. I respect it. Well, I think that just about covers it for my top 10 scariest Mario moments. This wasn't necessarily in any particular order, if you couldn't already tell, since I attempted to do a mixture of how I feel about these moments now and how I felt about them as a kid. I'm very curious to know what you guys think are some of the scariest moments in Mario that you've experienced over the years, especially if your list differs from mine. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe with the notifications turned on for more awesome Nintendo related content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye bye.